Hi, I'm Jess.
And I'm Quay.
And welcome to Team Dummy. We're so excited to hear that you guys are continuing with the work that we started in our past year at our first year at Duke. And even though you probably have read through all the materials that we've created, including videos from our first semester and from our second semester working on this project, we're sure that you have many questions, which is why we're creating this video here today to help give you an overview of what we've accomplished and also with the goals of hopefully answering some of the questions that you may have. So to begin, I'm going to start with Quay here to give us a brief overview of what we accomplished in our first semester in EGR101.
So last year, when we were in your shoes taking the Engineering 101 design course, we were matched up with a client in the community and were tasked with creating an anatomically accurate replica of the female's lower abdomen. And the point of our dummy was to test a pressure belt that the client had created to help treat PPH.
So as you may have seen from our materials from our first semester, we decided to break our team into specific groups. So we had 10 people working on our teams. It was originally 2 EGR101 teams and then we combined them. And we divided into these highly specialized groups, including the flow system, the creation of the uterus, pressure sensing, and then the creation of other organs and an overall body structure. And we found that it was really effective to have small groups working on the various components, but something that we definitely struggled with was coming together at the end and then figuring out how to integrate all of our components, especially after having been working during different hours and having been focused on completely different aspects of the project. That's why a small group of us, 4 students, decided to continue and take EGR190 into the second semester, which is a half-credit class that you'll probably hear about later after your first semester that you can take in to continue the work that you've been doing from your first semester. And especially our client first semester was a graduate student named Beryl who was working on behalf of Makerere University in Uganda and had basically developed this belt that we mentioned previously. And even though it was a really cool project, we thought that the area was incredibly niche and that there weren't many applications for the testing model that we had developed. But we were all really drawn to the problem that postpartum hemorrhage presents to the global health world, and we still wanted to do something that had tangible, real impact within that space, which is why we came to the idea after a lot of conversations with physicians and after many hours of brainstorming and kind of pivoting our ideas. We thought that there was an opportunity to build a training model, taking the principles that we learned first semester and applying them to building a tool that could be used in low-cost and rural hospital settings to train physicians and other labor and delivery staff on how to treat postpartum hemorrhage. So we're now going to get into some of the nitty-gritty questions. I guess I'll start and begin with, how did we come up with the final prototype?
So when we were creating our final prototype, we had the World Health Organization's newly released protocol on how health professionals should go about treating and training for PPH. And we came to the conclusion that we wanted to incorporate 3 of the main components of that protocol, which were A, bimanual compression, or uterine massage was the second, and 3 was catheter insertion. Bimanual massage is when a health professional actually takes their fist and inserts it through the vaginal canal of a woman who has just given birth and uses the pressure from the fist and exerts it onto the uterus to help compress it and decrease the bleeding from the woman. Second, uterine compression is applying pressure on the outside with both hands. And lastly, we also included catheter insertion by incorporating a piece of tubing, latex tubing, by inserting a piece of latex tubing which allows health professionals to go through the motions of inserting a catheter.
Looks like we have some company, but I'm sure once we start talking about the uterus, everybody will leave as they normally do on this campus. But a really important critical aspect of our pivoting and our strategy for second semester was that first semester we had taken a lot of different ideas and then run with all of them. So we had attempted to create a blood flow system that would properly simulate how blood moves from the aorta through the uterine arteries and then comes out of the body. We created a body model out of ballistics gels that unfortunately melted in its final prototype iteration, but we tried to create something that at least looked like a body, and we also tried to accomplish creating a bunch of other organs, including the intestines and the bladder and so on and so forth. And coming into second semester, we realized that we wanted to shift the strategy to focusing on small things and doing very few things, but doing them extremely well. First semester, we feel like we did a lot of things, but we all did them all of them were accomplished and resulted in some mediocre prototype, and we wanted to create something that was effective, accomplished all of its goals, was low cost, and was strategically designed to aim for maximum impact. Which is why when we began prototyping for this semester, we decided to focus on everything that Quay was talking about, and then from there, it was kind of just a race to see what we could create and what we could prototype. We created, I think, hundreds of uteri models, which draws me into what did we actually do to make the prototype at the end.
So we just said uterus like 10 times, so I guess we might as well just tell you what we ended up making our final uterus to be. We focused on using this really nice and anatomically accurate gel made by a manufacturer called Smooth On, and essentially you just mix it using part A and part B, and then you let it cure for a certain amount of time. And this gel is phenomenal at replicating the feeling of organs, and you can change how squishy it is by adding another gel product called Slacker, and depending on the percentage of Slacker that you add, it can become stickier and softer. So ultimately we used a 20% Slacker combination with EcoFlex 300 to make one large sheet of EcoFlex, and we took that sheet and cut it into a cone shape to make the middle layer of our uterus. So on the top we had a thin layer of neoprene foam, and then on the inside we had memory foam. So with memory foam on the bottom, the EcoFlex gel in the middle, and then the neoprene on top basically made a giant cone with a top like an ice cream cone essentially. Inside there was more memory foam that allowed it to bounce back when compressed, and it took many iterations to finally come to this final prototype, but that is the prototype that we ended up using in our final presentation.
So once we made the uterus, we also needed to have something that resembled the body that the uterus could sit in, which is, especially when we were having conversations of how can we make this model the most low cost as possible and something that could be easily reproduced by anybody anywhere in the country, we decided to use a plastic box where we cut actually a rectangle into the front side of the box, and then we filled the box with various foams and gels that we just had lying around. Most of it was foam that we ordered off of Amazon that looks a lot like your normal kitchen sponge, and we created these layers and then actually took a visit to the theater department and consulted with one of the costume designers on how we could create a sleeve that was soft and felt but would be able to also encase everything and maintain some form of shape so that there were external visual cues as to what the body would look like with this box and all the foams within the sleeve. So after working with the woman in the theater department, shout out to Erin, we had a sleeve that created, basically you would put the box into the sleeve, layer the foams, place the uterus in the top of on top of all the foams, and then we cut up so many, like probably hundreds of different foam blocks, and then just stuffed the model as you would a normal stuffed animal, just to give it some type of like softness and fullness to really resemble a human body. So you're going to read more about that in our user's manual, which outlines exactly how we came to making this prototype. But in the end, it doesn't really sound to be that difficult, cutting up foams and just placing them into a model, but the steps to figure out what the shapes needed to look like and how you could assemble them through sewing and where the cuts needed to be made, it was actually a really strenuous process.
Additionally, we also had pressure sensors incorporated to our design. Essentially, the pressure sensors read pressure data that's on the pressure that's being exerted onto organs, and that's done by placing them on top of vital organs that we wanted to know these statistics from. They were used using Arduinos, and it is essential that they are calibrated to get the right data values. Additionally, we also had a vaginal canal that was attached to the outside entrance to the plastic box was within the black casing of our dummy, and essentially it just mimicked a dilated vaginal canal of a woman who had just undergone had just given birth, and it was a layer of the neoprene fabric similar to what was used on that side of the uterus, and then a layer of EcoFlex Dragon Skin, another Smooth On product that mimics the skin very well, and the texture inside of that gel increasingly became rough further into the vaginal canal, and it was just rolled up like a burrito, and attached to the box on the inside of our prototype.
Which brings us to now the question of what could we have done better, and what do we hope you guys are going to consider as you continue working on this project. I think a big thing that our team did very well is that we communicated, and especially you guys will learn through this semester, after you spend so many hours with each other in the pod, specifically like literally in the pod and also on the bus rides to the pod, you become really good friends, and it becomes much easier, especially by the end of the year, to communicate and figure out who's good at what and how you can properly delegate all of the tasks. That being said, it's also half of this project is just exploring something new and trying something new, and it's also the understanding that when you're working as a member of a team, that you have to give people the space to try new things and to also make mistakes and fail, because as we've learned, failure is an incredibly important aspect of the engineering process, and honestly most of our wins this year came from some great failures.
So when we brought our prototype to the competition in Houston, we received a lot of valuable feedback that we want to share and pass on to you. So first off, our model is representative of quite a petite frame, and so one of the doctors there told us that there's this huge elephant in the room when it comes to dummies, and that would be obesity, and obesity is a problem that America is trying to fix. But in the meantime, our dummies need to be more representative of all the shapes and sizes of women that are ultimately giving birth and undergoing PPH. We also got a really good suggestion from a judge, and he suggested that we incorporate a zipper on the outside black casing of our product, which would allow easy removal to see what was going on inside, because a huge part of our dummy is that the people undergoing training can't see what they're doing, but they will have no way of seeing what they're doing wrong and then being able to adjust and continue training in the correct way. So by having a zipper, that would be super helpful. And another idea is just creating the same outside casing, but in a clear material, so that there's the option of actually being able to see the procedures and training, and that could be layered underneath the black one with the zipper. Finally, we would really like to see a more professional blood circulatory system, because the one we have right now is very sloppy. When we presented it to our professor last week,
for context, we flooded the pod.
Murad wasn't super happy, so just watch out. He might hold it against you guys.
I also think we collaborated with Dr. Schmidt at Duke Hospital a little bit this year, but we definitely could have done a lot more work with health experts within the field. We know that we're going to be passing on some contacts for you guys to possibly reach out to as you continue working on this project in this next year. But we definitely schedule early on with Duke Hospital. They're incredibly difficult to get in touch with. Everything's so busy here, and I think scheduling early on is really important in figuring out how you can get the best expert opinions. Also, I know that we're giving a lot of more negative feedback on what we received on our project, but there were also a lot of good wins. Particularly at this competition, a physician who's actually a gynecologist approached us, and she told us that we hit the nail on the head and we're solving the right problem. A lot of the other engineering teams at the competition that we attended at Rice were not necessarily solving the most critical problems or really addressing things that were necessary, and they thought that we were effectively doing that through the development of this device, which is why you guys should be super excited to be continuing work on it. And also, people thought that it felt pretty good when they stuck their hands into it, and that it felt really similar, or at least as similar as it could be, to what the amount of force would actually feel like and entail when you were actually treating postpartum hemorrhage. So that was some really good feedback that we received. We think that a really great opportunity that you guys could capitalize upon is that the goal that we had for this project was that it would be an open source model that anybody anywhere in the world could quickly find the directions for online, gather the necessary resources, and then build their own models for extremely low prices. And we hope that as you guys continue to prototype and you continue to make your model, you think about what a model that is open source could mean to the global health community, and what it could mean to actually alleviating many of the maternal health crises that are occurring in the low-income and rural communities. In particular, we hope to see YouTube videos or some sort of online video portal that outlines step-by-step how people could construct this model. And perhaps you could include infographics with instructions on how you can actually adjust the model. So if you want to make a more heavy model, what that entails, and if you're looking to make a model that has a very specific condition, what that would entail. So I think that there's great opportunity there for that.
One final idea that we're gonna leave you guys with would be to create time simulations that output patient vitals and create a display for users using our physical dummy.
Yeah, I mean, just think about how cool it would be if somebody were using the model and an app relayed to their phone said, blood pressure's dropping, you need to start practicing bimanual compression. And then as you began practicing bimanual compression, your app actually showed you if you were pressing hard enough.
And that could be data received from the pressure sensors. So we know we're giving you so much information. Obviously not all of this can be achieved in one semester, but we really believe that there's so much impact that can be made, and we totally believe that you will be able to make some amazing impact in these upcoming months.
Yeah, we're very excited to see what you guys come up with. Also, we, as well as our other team members, are still going to be at Duke. We're all going to be sophomores, and we're more than happy to come in and help you guys out or give you guys some feedback if you ever need it.
Absolutely.
Have a great year.
Welcome to Teen Belly Dummy.
Woo!
Created an anatomically accurate. Oh shoot.
Hey, look at that helicopter.
I could do this. I could do this.
Clay's
I could
thriving.
Do this.
Professional vlogging in the gardens right now.
Yes. Take 3.